Welcome back, this is Fox and welcome to our first ever Satisfactory video for the channel. Not much going on yet, but we're going to walk through what I've done so far and yeah, just quickly say, if this is the first time coming here, you've came here for this video, I do Anno 1800 videos. Most of my subscribers have come from that at the minute, so this might be a little bit of a shock to them that I'm starting doing Satisfactory videos, but the main reason I'm doing this is I'm nearly at the end of my playthrough on Anno 1800 where I'm just trying to max pop. I should get to like 3 million, 3.5 million hopefully all done. Maybe 3 million. When that's done, I'm not going to start another Anno 1800 save until High Life comes out and we can build skyscrapers and fit a shit ton more investors in islands. So yeah, that being said, I'm going to talk you through what we've got going on here. This little coal plant that you can see down here is nothing special. I think there's 32 gens down there. This was mainly built to produce the power for the turbo fuel production down in the basement of this building here. Have a quick look at this building so you can have a look at it. It's a four stories of turbo fuel generators. Generators running the turbo fuel, and then in the basement we're making it all. This little corkscrew runs off to the sulfur mine, which is down there. You can just see the train station in the distance. So yeah, as I say, there's 4 floors, 88 fuel generators, making me 20,100 megawatts of power. There's a mixture of overclocked and non-overclocked generators in here, just because I wanted to keep it 4 floors of 22 generators. I wanted it to look the same across all 4 floors. The top 2 floors are all running at standard 100%. They are using 99 M3 of turbo fuel each. So the top 2 floors together are using 200 M3 of turbo fuel. Excuse me, the next floor down is using 139, and then the bottom floor is using 200. Every single one on the bottom floor is overclocked. The next floor up is a mixture of overclocked and standard 100%. Just so that it worked out, excuse me, that I was using the amount of turbo fuel that I'm making. The amount of turbo fuel that I'm making is 540 M3 per minute, or meters cubed. I was using, all the generators together are using 537 or something like that. So that's the basic numbers out of the way. We'll have a quick look at it. As I said, it's 4 floors, 22 generators on each floor. I've got 3 each end and then 8 down each side, so you've got 16 and 6, which is the 22. Got a cool little corkscrew here. This is the only train feeding stuff into this facility. Everything else, apart from the sulfur, because I'm using the blenders, you'll see in a minute, everything else apart from the sulfur is coming from oil. We use the oil to make heavy oil residue, and in turn we make petroleum coke, heavy oil residue, and the fuel. So yeah, as I say, this is the corkscrew. We'll quickly fly over to the sulfur mine, if you like, sulfur node. This save is going to get big. That's why I'm keeping the trains on the ground if I can. I don't want to have them floating on piers. The item limit is going to be an issue for me. So this sulfur node is a normal. I've got it overclocked at 1 tick, so we're creating 360 parts a minute. Now we only need 270, so we're producing a lot more than I actually need, but hey ho, it's only a normal node. There's another one right next to it, so just wanted to make sure there was a constant supply. The train unloading and loading times are a massive pain for me and everybody, I would imagine, when you're calculating stuff. So I always like to have mines churning out more if I'm using them in a train station like this. So yeah, cool little corkscrew I created to get us into the factory. And then we're going to go down into the basement where we're making everything. So the sulfur comes in. I've got 12 blenders here making the turbo fuel. We'll work backwards and I'll tell you how everything's made. Obviously the sulfur is pretty straightforward. This blender recipe I've got uses fuel, heavy oil residue, sulfur and petroleum coke. So as I said, the sulfur comes straight in pure. You don't have to turn it into sulfuric acid or anything like that. It's just pure sulfur. You then need fuel, heavy oil residue and petroleum coke. So 12 petroleum coke. I needed 270 270 a min petroleum coke, same as what we did for the sulfur. So the oil comes in this end. I'll have a quick look over here so you can see where the oil is coming in. Again, I'm producing more oil here than I need. I've got an impure node overclocked to maximum, giving us 150. And I've got a normal node overclocked to the maximum, giving us 300. So 450 a minute oil. I forget the exact figure that I needed. It's 412.5 oil. So we're overproducing by about 38. So again, oil is not an issue. I probably could have squeezed a few more generators out of it, but I wanted to make sure everything just looked the same. As I said, 4 floors of 22 looked pretty cool to me. I designed the building first and then built the stuff afterwards. So the oil comes in. These first two are making the petroleum coke. These are overclocked to 212.5%, so I'm making 90 a minute. So 45 a minute from these two refineries makes the heavy oil residue. All of these make all of the oil is turned into heavy oil residue. So these two are creating the heavy oil residue for these two, which in turn are making the petroleum coke. These are overclocked the same amount, 112.5. That turns 90 heavy oil residue into 270 petroleum coke a minute, which, as you can see, 270 petroleum coke a minute means that all of these are full. That's because these take 22.5 petroleum coke a minute. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in all these numbers and intricate ins and outs. I will be streaming when I move house and my internet connection gets better, so you can see me building this stuff. But when I'm showing you detailed builds like this, I personally like it when people go over the numbers and stuff. So yeah, as I say, we've got 22.5 times 12 is 270. So 270 petroleum coke split equally. I've got 2 of these making the same amount coming out, one row. This splitter was in here when I was setting it up. It's not going to be needed anymore because these should all be full. All the lines fully saturated. Probably could have left it in there on 96 that end, but still. I may put it back in. Let's put it back in just in case this one's filling up quicker. So yeah, I always create these sort of manifolds up. This line filled up first. I had both of them going into this line to fill this row at first, and then I separated it to go into that line afterwards. So something I do quite common if I've got double rows of buildings is I'll let one saturate first and then shift the production over to the other one. It saves letting it manifold and overflow into all of them. It just does it a lot quicker. So these first two making heavy oil residue into these two making the petroleum coke. The polymer resin, I'm making 240 tons a minute of polymer resin all in, I think, from the whole row. At the minute it's just getting crushed in the sink. 40 tickets at the minute. I may do something with it at a later date. I do not need to at the minute. The next 9 refineries are all straight up making heavy oil residue. They're all on the standard recipe, not standard recipe, they're all on standard clock speed of 100%, giving me 40 a minute. So 9 times 40 is 360 heavy oil residue a minute. These need 30 a minute. 30 times 12 is 360. So leave the right amount of heavy oil residue. Again, I let it fill up one lane first before I let it pump round to the other. This is where it ends. I'm injecting it from both ends of the run. So this is where it ends. It comes in here. It's going to shoot it this way. This one comes in here, and it's going to shoot it this way. I could have done, if I'm honest, with these refineries being in between these and then feeding it down to split it equally, but this way was working fine. I mean, I let it saturate before I turned each blender on one at a time, so it works perfect for me. So as I said, these 9 all making heavy oil residue into the blender. The last thing we needed to do was the fuel, so I've got these last 2. These are clocked at 125%, so they're making me 50 heavy oil residue a minute. So 2 times 50 is 100. Then this is going into these. These both need 50 heavy oil residue a minute. This is the new alternate diluted fuel recipe inside these blenders. This is amazing. Before, we used to have to package the fuel and package it, deal with the canisters. I believe you used to use sulfur in this process before it went to the turbo fuel. It was crazy. No, I'm wrong. I'm thinking of the final turbo fuel method. Yeah, but to get the diluted fuel with the old recipe before the blenders come out, you had to package it and then unpackage it and recycle the canisters around. This just uses straight water as an input and heavy oil residue, so it's so much easier. So I'm turning 100 heavy oil residue into 200 fuel. These only need 15 fuel a minute, so 1.5 hours. I think it was 180 fuel I needed, so we're making 200 fuel a minute. These needed 180, so these buffers are always pretty full, backed up. Better to have pipes backed up than not at all. I had the oil to spare. I wasn't going to use it for anything else in this project, so pretty neat. The only thing that we needed that wasn't oil and sulfur was the water. Got 2 water extractors down here, both pumping out 120 water a minute, so we're making 240 in total. I believe these only need 100. I think it's an equal split. No, it was 50 heavy oil residue to 100 water, so yeah. This is the only part I'm not happy with. This was an afterthought. This little puddle here was enough water for what I needed to do this. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look brilliant. I could easily encase this in a box and hide it, but it's pretty close to this hydro geothermal thing, so it's not the best, but it's serving a purpose. So there you have it. Night time's coming, just in time. That was it. 88 generators running turbo fuel. I'll run through this a bit quick. If you've got any questions, please let me know. It's really straightforward. These blenders have opened up a whole new world for us in regards to mixing multiple things at once. They're like giant refineries. They're better. They're like giant refineries. You can think of them as a giant refinery. They've just got double the input, double the fluid inputs, and double the solid input, if you like. So yes, looks pretty cool as well. I added some detailing this afternoon just to make it look a bit better. I really like it. So yeah, this is producing me 20 megawatts of power all in all. If we look at the power, if you minus off what it takes to make the turbo fuel, and we add on the fuel that the coal power plant's generating, we're sitting at 2,500. So the coal power plant is pretty much balancing out. Coal power plant is pretty much balancing out what it takes to make the turbo fuel, so that it's sitting around the 20,000 megawatt mark. So fingers crossed, this should be enough to well, it'll definitely be enough to get the nuclear fuel rod production going. I'll have in mind to do my nuclear production a bit different this time, because since update 4, all power generation sources, be it coal power plants, fuel generators or nuclear power plants, they all output full amount of power at all times. Whereas in update 3, they used to just ramp up and down as and when was needed. If you had 50 nuclear power plants turned on, but your power wasn't needed, well, I think I'm right in saying that with nuclear. It was definitely right with the other power sources. If you didn't need the power, it wouldn't be generated. They'll just produce the power as they want. But now with update 4, I know for a fact that everything is on all the time. So you don't want to build 100 nuclear power plants and have them all turned on at a time. So I had a thought of making a whole production chain from start to finish. I was running some maths. I think it worked out. I think it made sense to power 6 nuclear power plants in one go. I think with the new blender recipes and stuff like that, I was going to do it in sections of 6 nuclear power plants, maybe 10. So I could turn on 6 nuclear power plants at a time and have the whole production chain stretched out in front of that power plant for those 6 power plants, if that makes sense. So split it up in blocks of 6. So this will definitely be enough power for me to get one of those blocks going, and then in turn you can sort of daisy chain the power as you go along. So yeah, looks pretty cool. I added a little detail here of this. I always forget what these are called. Industrial fluid buffer. Sat on one 8x1 foundation, and then I put these wall power outlets, and then I've strung it up by these poles at the side, so it looks like it's sort of levitating. It looked a bit weird when it was just sat there and the pipes were supporting it up from this. So yeah, I thought that looked pretty cool. I mean, you can't really see it in the dark, but anywho, as always, I've been waffling. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, stay tuned for more Satisfactory and Anno videos. If you did like this, please give it a thumbs up. Come and join the Discord. I've just set up a little section in my Discord for Satisfactory pics and vids now. If you're into Satisfactory, come over there. There'll be a link in the description. Come join the community. It's growing fast, yeah. And I really cannot wait to get into my new place, so I've got better internet and I can stream these games for you and interact with you more. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Cheers.